On May 10, 2007, an individual identified as Chad sent an email to Coast AM radio containing photographs of an unusual flying vehicle observed above Bakersfield, California. One of the images was captured using a mobile device and supposedly captured by Chad's spouse at a previous point in time, while the rest of the shots were supposedly taken on May 6, 2007. Subsequently, all of these photographs were uploaded to the Coast website. In April 2007, during a walk, Chad and his spouse observed a remarkably enormous and peculiar aerial object. His spouse captured an image using the camera on her mobile device, and several days later, a friend of theirs who also happened to be their neighbor kindly loaned them his camera and accompanied them to capture images of this peculiar object. They located the object and captured many high-resolution photographs. The vessel operates with minimal noise and has exceptionally fluid motion. Typically, it exhibits a leisurely pace until it makes the decision to depart. Then it accelerates at an extremely high speed and disappears from view almost instantaneously. Deborah McKinley, a resident of California, submitted a report to the Mutual UFO Network website on May 12, 2007. The report included 2 mobile phone images that were supposedly taken in Lake Tahoe, Nevada, on May 5, 2007. The photos depicted a craft in the air that resembled a previous sighting. According to their testimony, they observed an object in the sky at 7 in the evening around Lake Tahoe. The object was rotating and progressing at a leisurely pace. They submitted their report, stating that at approximately 7 in the evening, while heading towards their car to retrieve a jumper, they observed a mysterious object in the sky. The object in question was in close proximity, however, it remained at an elevation higher than the surrounding trees. The object was in a state of slow, deliberate motion, rotating as it gradually approached the right side of their field of vision. Initially, they were taken aback and perplexed, but stated that they had the inclination to capture the moment by taking a photograph, but noted that their camera was indoors. Consequently, they resorted to using their cell phone to capture 2 photographs before the object disappeared beneath the roof of the home. They swiftly circled to the opposite side and called for their spouse to come out and take a look. Upon reaching the opposite side, they observed the sight just as it descended behind a cluster of trees. Although the husband didn't have a clear view, he observed enough to persuade himself that it was an exceedingly peculiar object. They opted to embark on a leisurely excursion around the vicinity in hopes of catching another glimpse of it, although their efforts proved fruitless. They failed to observe it on the following day as well. As they were leasing the cabin for the weekend, they were unfamiliar with any neighboring inhabitants, but they were confident that several other individuals must have witnessed it. The object was highly conspicuous and had a peculiar appearance. They experienced a certain level of apprehension, but the husband appeared to be very unfazed by the situation. He exhibited a greater level of interest in it rather than fear. The object emitted minimal noise with only a barely perceptible, indescribable vibration. Both of the eyewitnesses perceived the sound, however they noted that it was almost silent. It followed a linear trajectory as it passed over the house, but as it appeared on the opposite side and descended under the trees, it executed a sudden and pronounced change in direction. The object exhibited precise movement, distinct from that of a helicopter or aeroplane. During their trip, they encountered an individual who was a few blocks away, and they approached him to inquire if he had witnessed the event. However, he responded negatively. Subsequently, they inquired whether he had perceived any peculiar sounds and sought to provide the most accurate description possible. In response, he expressed uncertainty, acknowledging the possibility of having heard something unusual. The movement of the mysterious object is commonly characterized as mechanical, resembling that of an insect. The vessel, devoid of sound, would leisurely drift and then abruptly dart to another location, only to repeat the process. It would manifest instantaneously and vanish just as abruptly. However, not only did the size and shape of the object alter, but the images themselves were also different. Contrary to the previously observed ultra-clear and ultra-sharp quality of Chad's images, the drones suddenly appeared to be mostly distant, blurry, and less crisp. An individual known only as Isaac uploaded a collection of electronic messages to Coast AM once again. Isaac asserts that he had the position of a scientist at a highly classified UFO research center. His emails included scanned pages from research documents that he allegedly pilfered, along with images and a detailed explanation letter. The message makes it apparent that he doesn't mind who posts the photographs and letters, as long as they use the materials he's provided. The document consists of approximately 12 pages, filled with some interesting content. Essentially, Isaac asserts that he held a position as a computer scientist in the Department of Defense and was enlisted in the early 1980s to join Palo Alto Carrot Laboratory. During his employment at a hypothetical classified facility situated 5 levels below ground beneath an inconspicuous facade in California, he was entrusted with a position of leadership. His primary task involved decoding the extraterrestrial language visible on the undersides of the wings in the photographs. The laboratory was operated by the military, with the objective of developing technology that could be patented, sold, and the resulting earnings utilized to finance other classified operations. Each chamber was equipped with guards, and individuals were subjected to strip searches while entering or leaving. Additionally, the brass enforced a stringent need-to-know policy that finally became burdensome for the scientists. Driven by a strong feeling of revulsion towards the management practices, Isaac, a few years after becoming a member of the laboratory, started pilfering documents by surreptitiously concealing them in his trousers and nonchalantly exiting the premises. Subsequently, he resigned. The idea of going public had intermittently crossed his mind, but it was only the images taken by Chad that ultimately motivated him to take action. In his letter, he asserts that the mysterious objects are magnified iterations of the anti-gravity apparatuses he developed at Palo Alto Carrot Laboratory. As evidence, Isaac sent a photograph of alien artifacts that he asserts he was involved in. When assembled, it is readily apparent how they form the core ring of the drone. This observation undermines the credibility of the CGI hypothesis. If an individual inserted a computer-generated drone into a shot, they would have taken the effort to create a physical model of it for utilization in Isaac's photos. Isaac's most interesting notion revolves around the extraterrestrial script. Initially, there was a lot of speculation on the internet about the language's nature. Oddly enough, every attempt to translate was unsuccessful. Isaac, on the other hand, provides a significantly more impressive explanation. He stated that it is a system of symbols, as well as geometric forms and patterns, that combine to create diagrams that have practical purposes. Once the drawings are created on an appropriate surface using a suitable substance and in the presence of a specific sort of field, they promptly commence executing the intended tasks. The individual suggests that if you were to write a phrase in this extraterrestrial language on a suitable type of paper and then place the paper on a table, the table would exhibit the phrase that had been written. Shortly after posting these mysterious images, along with his explanation, Isaac vanished. Someone found this huge object above the eastern Pacific. It was captured using the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Tropical Pacific Weather Channel. The man who found it put the recording on a loop, and during this, a huge triangular object appears. Oddly enough, the man stated that the object is around half the size of Mexico. The triangular object was caught hovering above the ocean and was detected by satellite. The man who found it said that he's never seen anything like it, noting that he often checks this live camera feed, and nothing of this size has ever showed up before. The man went on to explain that the object was visible for over 7 hours, saying that it wasn't just a random cloud formation or glitch, and said that it stayed in the same location. These black triangle objects have been witnessed for several decades now, with researchers into the unknown saying that sightings can be traced back hundreds of years. These enigmatic triangular crafts have been spotted all over the world, leading to fervent speculation and debate among researchers and enthusiasts. Black triangle sightings began to gain prominence in the late 1980s and early 1990s. Witnesses described these crafts as large, dark, silent, and triangular in shape, often with bright lights at each corner. These sightings caught the attention of researchers, who were intrigued by the consistent descriptions from witnesses around the globe. Black triangles have been reported in various countries, including the United States, United Kingdom, Mexico, and Japan. Witnesses describe seeing these crafts hovering silently in the sky, or moving at high speeds. The origins of these black triangles remain a subject of speculation and debate. Several hypotheses have been proposed to explain these sightings. Skeptics argue that black triangles are classified military aircraft undergoing testing or surveillance operations. The secretive nature of military programs could explain the lack of public acknowledgement. Interestingly, though, various eyewitnesses have reported seeing these black triangles hovering above the ocean. While many unidentified objects are witnessed in the skies above land, there is a growing body of evidence and speculation that suggests these objects may also have a significant interest in the oceans. One of the primary reasons these objects might be interested in the oceans is the abundance of water. Earth is the only planet known to have vast oceans of liquid water, a precious resource that could be of immense value to advanced civilizations. Water is essential for sustaining life as we know it, and it is possible that unidentified objects are searching for or monitoring Earth's oceans in their quest for habitable environments. The oceans represent some of the most unexplored and diverse ecosystems on Earth. These deep and largely unknown environments harbor an incredible variety of life forms, many of which are yet to be discovered by humans. It is conceivable that these objects, equipped with advanced sensing technologies, are interested in studying these unique ecosystems and their inhabitants to better understand the diversity of life in the universe. One intriguing theory put forth by some researchers is the possibility of submerged bases in Earth's oceans. If unidentified objects are of advanced origin, it is conceivable that they might have established bases underwater to remain hidden and undetected from human observation. These underwater bases could serve as research outposts or staging areas for their activities on Earth. Numerous sightings have been reported in close proximity to marine life, particularly with regard to encounters with whales and dolphins. Some witnesses have described these objects emerging from or submerging into the ocean, suggesting a connection between unidentified objects and marine life. This has led some researchers to speculate about potential communication or interaction between these objects and Earth's intelligent marine species. Another speculative theory is that unidentified objects may be interested in extracting resources from the oceans. Earth's oceans contain vast amounts of minerals and elements, some of which may be scarce or highly valuable in other parts of the universe. Advanced civilizations may view our oceans as a potential source of valuable resources, leading them to explore or exploit these underwater reserves. The oceans are also home to various forms of energy, including geothermal vents, which release hot, mineral-rich water from beneath the Earth's surface. Such energy sources could be of interest to advanced civilizations seeking sustainable and renewable energy solutions. These aircrafts might be monitoring or harnessing these energy reserves to power their craft or other technologies. The vastness and depth of the oceans offer a convenient environment for concealment and surveillance. These aircrafts could use the ocean as a hiding place or base of operations, especially given that human exploration and surveillance technologies are less developed underwater than in space or on land. The ocean's depths also provide an effective shield against human detection. As of right now, the Earth's oceans are a fascinating and mysterious aspect of the broader phenomenon. While there is no definitive evidence to confirm the reasons behind this apparent attraction, numerous scientific theories and speculative ideas offer plausible explanations. Whether these objects are drawn to Earth's oceans for resources, water, or the study of marine life, their presence and activities remain one of the greatest enigmas of our time. This isn't the first time that something like this has been detected, and former workers have come forward and detailed that these objects are occasionally witnessed. Back in 2008, a team of National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration scientists embarked on a routine research expedition aboard their state-of-the-art research vessel. Their mission was to study marine life and oceanic currents in the vast expanse of the Atlantic Ocean. However, one of the workers said that this voyage would lead them to an encounter that would defy their understanding of the world. As the vessel sailed through the tranquil waters, the scientists immersed themselves in their work, meticulously collecting data and observing marine creatures. Dr. Walker, the lead marine biologist, had always been fascinated by the mysteries of the deep sea. As night fell, the team continued their observations under the shimmering moonlight. Suddenly, an unusual blip appeared on the ship's radar, catching the attention of Dr. Walker and the crew. They were puzzled by the mysterious signal, as there were no other vessels reported in the vicinity. With a sense of anticipation, the crew followed the radar signal, leading them to an area where the ocean currents seemed to converge. As they approached, an eerie silence enveloped the ship, broken only by the gentle lapping of the waves against the hull. Then, out of the darkness, a breathtaking sight unfolded before them. A massive, triangle-shaped object hovered above the water, emitting a soft, ethereal glow. The mysterious craft seemed to defy the laws of physics, maintaining a steady position in the air without any visible means of propulsion. Amidst the astonishment, Dr. Walker quickly grabbed her camera and began capturing images of the otherworldly spectacle. The crew members, equally mesmerized, exchanged bewildered glances as they tried to make sense of the inexplicable sighting. Captain Reynolds radioed to other National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration vessels that were in the area, reporting their sighting with an air of incredulity. The situation was unprecedented, and the crew knew that their encounter would be met with skepticism back home. As the night wore on, the enigmatic triangle object remained suspended above the ocean, seemingly unbothered by the presence of the workers. Dr. Walker and her team observed the object's peculiar light patterns, noting how it occasionally emitted bright flashes before dimming again. Suddenly, the object started to move, gliding noiselessly across the sky. The crew watched in awe as it soared effortlessly above the water, leaving behind a faint trail of shimmering light. The object then made a quick getaway and was not seen for the rest of the mission. Oddly enough, the cameras were taken from the crew, and they were told not to speak of their encounter. The United States government has acknowledged the existence of unidentified flying objects, but their stance and level of knowledge about them is not entirely clear. Back in June 2021, the United States government released a report on unidentified aerial phenomena, which is the new term used to describe these mysterious aircrafts. The report, issued by the Office of the Director of National Intelligence, stated that there were 144 reports of unidentified aerial phenomena from 2004 to 2021, with only one of them having an identifiable explanation. As of right now, though, officials haven't released any more information on this topic, leading amateur researchers to suggest that they're not giving away all of the answers and that they're holding on to substantial evidence which could prove once and for all what these objects are. Going back a few years ago, a man overheard two security guards talking, and they detailed that in the early hours of the morning, something was being transported out of Edwards Air Force Base. He overheard the guards say that the object would be transported at around 1:30 in the morning, and so he decided to wait in his car to see what the Air Force Base was transporting. The man reported that in the distance he could see a police car with its lights on, and behind it were several other police cars escorting a large truck. The man said that he couldn't believe what he was seeing, and that the object on the back of the truck appeared to be in the shape of a disc. Many said that the man was brave for doing this, and that he may have caught genuine proof of a mysterious aircraft. Although the man was able to follow the military guards and capture proof of this encounter, others said that he was lucky not to have been spotted, and suggested that if he was caught by officers, then he may have been given a prison sentence. Oddly enough, although the man was able to capture clear photographs of an aircraft in the shape of a disc, some online users came forward and said that it wasn't an unidentified aircraft, and was actually an aircraft that belonged to the United States Navy. The aircraft in question is called the X-46B. According to military websites, the project was funded under a $635 million contract, which was awarded to the United States Navy in 2007. By January 2012, the total program cost had grown to over $800 million. The aircraft certainly looks futuristic, but according to military insiders, the program had a rough start, and not long after being awarded the program, it was soon scrapped in favor of a less stealthy aircraft. Interestingly, various military bases have been home to strange encounters, which have led former military workers to come forward with their strange encounters. One such event happened at the Edwards Air Force Base. Edwards Air Force Base sits amid the dusty plains of the Mojave Desert, home to the Earth's hottest place, Death Valley, where temperatures fluctuate from scorching hot in the summer to freezing cold in the winter. The desert is a hostile and dangerous place, but it's also one of America's most fascinating places for a number of reasons. Geographically, the area is unique. Furthermore, the first space shuttle mission, Columbia, landed at Edwards on its return to Earth in April 1981. However, there's a reason much more relevant to this video as to why we're taking a look at the base. Edwards Air Force Base, by location and the majority of its purpose, is just a regular military installation, but it also serves a joint purpose. The base essentially controls activities at the nearby Homey Airport, an area that in recent years has become synonymous with strange activity. One would imagine that some strange things must be seen late at night, that far out in the desert, surrounded by nothing but open air and dusty expanses. One night in 1965, an air traffic controller at the base had a strange encounter with what he believed was an aircraft in the shape of a disc. In 1965, Edwards, like US Air Force bases all over the country, were on high alert for suspicious activity in the skies. Tension with the Soviet Union was mounting, and the most shocking thing that radar controllers in the Nevada desert could have seen back then would have been a Russian aircraft. However, the objects that appeared above the base, apparently flying very high and very fast, appeared in sets of 7 to 12 and looked like pulsating lights against the night sky. However, the controllers couldn't be sure of what they'd seen, and as a precaution, a fighter jet was scrambled from the nearby George Air Force Base. Yet, the strange lights continued to climb into the night sky, far outpacing the fighter jet. Controllers noted that the craft seemed to simply fade away into space, becoming one of the stars. The thing about the Edwards incident is that the eyewitness reports were credible, so the crew at the base most definitely did see something that night. It's just not clear what it was that they saw. We don't know what sort of threat, or how bad a threat these mysterious aircrafts posed, but when the evidence was released only about 15 years ago, people realized that the government had gone to great lengths at the time to cover up these sorts of incidents. These mysterious aircrafts have been a thing of immense fascination across the world for thousands of years, but Americans were amongst the first to take a continued interest in the phenomena. And when multiple soldiers, those who we trust with keeping us safe, are left confused and ultimately convinced by their own sightings, you can't help but think that there might be something else out there. These are just a few examples of what military officials have encountered, and there's definitely no shortage of these types of stories. It's interesting when we hear about these types of sightings that have been witnessed by everyday people, but when military officials come forward and share their stories, they seem more credible. This is because these are the people that work around these areas on a daily basis, so they are used to seeing military equipment on a daily basis. No matter what your thoughts surrounding these incidents, one thing that can't be ignored is that there are only two possible conclusions to make when it comes to repeated UFO sightings: either a truth within the story or false. The United Kingdom is no stranger to these mysterious aircrafts, and since the early 1980s, there have been various mass sightings of strange aircrafts that don't match vehicles such as planes or helicopters. Described as one of the strangest aerial sightings ever made, bordering on the theory of being a possible religious experience, is that of the well-recorded incident referred to by researchers as the Devon Flying Cross sighting. While officers Roger Willey and Clifford Walcott were making their way back to the police station, driving from Holsworthy to Hatherley at around 4 a.m, they were diverted from their investigation when they spotted a series of floating lights in the sky that seemed to group together and take on the shape of a cross. According to the two officers, the sighting took place on the 24th of October, back in 1967, and have yet to find an adequate explanation for what they encountered. The now retired officers recounted the following statement surrounding the incident. "We were making our way back between Holsworthy and Hatherley when we saw this unusual bright light in the sky. We both registered that we'd seen something. It was something we couldn't logically account for. It was something that I hadn't seen before, I haven't seen since, and something that nobody can explain exactly what it was." The two officers described the craft as a bright object in the shape of a cross, hovering slightly above the height of the tree line roughly 40 meters from where their car was parked. Unsure of what action would be most appropriate to take, the two officers began to pursue the lights, which began to pulsate for about 15 minutes while flying away from their car, still following the path of the road at about the speed of 80 miles per hour. It was at this point that the officers got a clear look at the lights, only to notice that something was off about their appearance. The two officers both described that the lights seemed to have been continually out of focus of their eyes, and said that it was as if they were viewing this object through wet glass. Roger provided a later statement describing the lights as they followed them for this 15-minute period. He said the following: "My view of it was that it was moving slowly. It wasn't a star, it was bright, and it was white. If you look at glass which has got rain on, it was the same sort of inference. It was a splash. It was just eerie." As Roger and Clifford continued following the craft, according to their witness account, at about 4:23 in the morning, the cross was joined by a second flying object that appeared to join the shape. It was also at this point that a third witness would enter the scene, a man by the name of Mr. Christopher Garner, a local resident of Hatherley, who also began to follow the light while driving down the same road. According to Christopher Garner, he originally believed that he was stuck in some kind of trance as the object passed overhead, unsure of what was real and what wasn't, recounting that the entire experience left him questioning whether or not he was experiencing a nightmare. This nightmare would not last for very long, however, as after the distance of 14 miles were passed, the object would fade away and seem to disappear in an instant, with no sign of the lights or the cross being anywhere nearby. The sighting was believed to have lasted from 4 in the morning to about 5 in the morning. Unfortunately for the men involved, this would not mark the end of this strange and otherworldly incident. Shortly following their sighting, officers Roger and Clifford claimed to have been approached by the British Ministry of Defence for the purpose of an ongoing investigation into the unidentified aircraft phenomenon, as well as warning them about coming forward with their encounter. Roger would later provide the following comment to the BBC national media: "We were visited by a boffin from the Ministry of Defence who told us that we were still officers under the Official Secrets Acts, and they would rather we kept it to ourselves." Fortunately for researchers interested in the unknown, this approach from the British Ministry of Defence would do very little to discourage Officer Roger, Clifford, and motorist Christopher Garner from going to the news media and reporting their encounter. When reports investigated the claims surrounding the strange intimidation tactic taken by the British Ministry of Defence, they would provide the explanation that they were doing their own research into the claims made by the three men and found them to be entirely baseless, providing the additional explanation that the sighting was nothing more than a misidentification of Venus in the sky. This explanation would be put into question, however, as throughout that same month, numerous additional sightings of a flying cross would be seen all throughout the Devon region. Additionally, during the late 2000s, slowly released documents from the British National Archives would tell a different story, when unclassified documents would be uncovered surrounding the Devon flying cross encounter, believing the sighting to have been a genuine mysterious aircraft, directly contradicting the public statement made by the Ministry of Defence during 1967 surrounding the incident. NASA's chief Bill Nelson has said that NASA continues its search for life in the universe. NASA has been at the forefront of space exploration, sending humans into space and launching probes to the edges of our solar system. Each year we learn new things about the universe that we live in, helping us to better understand what could be out there. Interestingly, Bill Nelson has been vocal about mysterious aircrafts and has shown a continued interest in their capabilities and where they're coming from. One of the most recent announcements to come from them was that national security agencies are well aware of these objects, but noted that as each new report comes in, new questions are raised, and the majority of the time these questions never get answered. These national security agencies have admitted that many of these aircrafts seem to have the ability to perform maneuvers that are highly advanced. According to one study that was released by top intelligence officials, they reported that in total, over 500 unidentified aircrafts had been observed in protected airspace or near sensitive facilities. The report was submitted to United States officials, and those in Congress and also the Director of National Intelligence have said that further studies are needed and that we need to better understand what these aircrafts are. One of the positives that comes from these reports is there's been a reduced stigma. For years, anyone showing interest in this topic would usually be dismissed, but because high-up military officials, soldiers, pilots, and former intelligence members have come forward with their testimonies, the topic has since been taken more seriously, and now even NASA is getting involved in these studies, saying that they are working with military officials to help aid where they can. Due to the amount of sightings that are reported every year, along with the hundreds of thousands of declassified documents that have been submitted by government officials, it's led some to say that perhaps this whole time, intelligent life has been right under our noses. Mysterious aircrafts have long been a hot topic, with some believing that the crafts are genuine, while others have said that they can be easily explained as everyday things like planes and military aircrafts. Ideas for what these are range from advanced crafts sent from other worlds, advanced probes that may be looking out for other life forms, or even that these things are forms of higher intelligence, and that as of right now we can't understand their workings. Bill Nelson, who is NASA's newest administrator, has said that he wants to get to the bottom of what these things are, saying that NASA will actively research this topic in order to help give a definitive answer for what they are. He openly said that the reports by military officials have caught the interest of scientists worldwide, and that their goal is to try and further research this topic in order to better understand what eyewitnesses have been seeing. These comments have divided people. NASA has never been open to the idea of mysterious aircrafts, actively going out of its way to shoot down any ideas that these crafts are genuine, which has frustrated those who have looked into the phenomena. But some have said that this could be a good chance for the company to be more open-minded about this topic, with many saying that it's clear that something is going on, noting that military pilots have been encountering these aircrafts for years now, and that it's only been in the last few years that people are starting to open up to the idea of these aircrafts being genuine. Recent reports showed us that out of hundreds of sightings of mysterious aircrafts that were reported by pilots, only one of these could be explained. It's due to this that people are hoping that NASA can shine a light on what these things are, and that it may usher us into a new era where we become more open-minded. Those who are heavily invested in the topic have said that it's good that a high-up NASA official has acknowledged these aircrafts, and hope that we can get an answer in the near future for what these things are. Bill Nelson said the following about the sightings made by United States Navy pilots. "I have received the classified version as well. I've seen the report. It said basically what we thought, and that's that we don't know the answer for what those Navy pilots saw, and those Navy pilots knew that they saw something. They tracked it, locked their radar onto it, and they followed it. It would suddenly move from one location to another, and what the report does tell us is that there's been over 140 of these sightings. So naturally, what I ask our scientists to do is to see if there's any kind of explanation from a scientific point of view, and as of right now, I'm waiting for their report." He was then asked about his feelings about what he thought they were, and if he could explain them. He said the following. "I talked to the Navy pilots when we were briefed in the Senate Armed Services Committee, and my feeling is that there is clearly something there. It may not necessarily be an extraterrestrial, but if it's a technology that some of our adversaries have, then we better be concerned. When it comes to the universe, it's so large that we have a program in NASA called the Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence, but thus far, we don't have any receipt of communication from something that would be intelligent." The next question the reporter asked Bill Nelson was, "Do you think this report is just going to create more anxiety and theories around this topic? People want an explanation, and people want to know what these things are." He responded with the following. "Ever since the Navy pilot video came out, people are hungry to know, and they want to know what's out there in the cosmos. Are we alone? Personally, I don't think that we are. The universe is so big, it's 13.5 billion years ago when the universe started, but people are hungry for this kind of information, and we're going to keep on searching." Many people found these comments interesting, as NASA hasn't really been vocal about the topic of mysterious crafts, and when they have been asked questions, they usually just shut them down immediately. But people gave praise to Bill Nelson as it came across that he has a much more open mind. One of the things that people picked up on was the fact that he said the United States is very advanced and that he doesn't think that other countries have this type of technology. The question then put forward is, who owns these things? If the biggest powerhouse on the planet has admitted that it isn't them, and even officials are saying that they don't have this type of technology, then who do they belong to? One of the issues with this is that there's many different theories floating around at the moment, and people have found it strange how these officials are suddenly changing their tune. After all, governments and space agencies have never been vocal about these mysterious crafts, but all of a sudden they are claiming that they don't know what these objects are. There's some who speculated that it's got to the point that they have to be honest, while others have said that they may have a motive of their own, with some noting that whenever this topic gets brought up, it's shortly followed by the military asking for a much bigger budget. NASA is still prioritizing their missions, which look for signs of life. Going back, NASA's then chief scientist Ellen Stofan claimed that by 2025, scientists will most likely discover prominent signs of life somewhere in the universe, saying that all of the data that NASA have gathered point towards us making a big discovery sometime in the near future. This announcement was made while she was speaking at a panel discussion, which heavily focused on NASA's search for habitable worlds. She said the following: "I think we're going to have strong indications of life beyond Earth within a decade, and I think we're going to have definitive evidence within 20 to 30 years. We know where to look. We know how to look. In most cases, we have the technology, and we're on a path to implementing it, and so I think we're definitely on the road." NASA's Space Telescope was retired in 2018, but during its mission, it revealed to scientists that pretty much every star in the sky hosts planets, many of which could have similar conditions to Earth. Just because other planets aren't as similar to Earth, though, it doesn't mean that they can't host life. Researchers have been open about this discussion and have said that when it comes to the universe, it could be filled with weird and wonderful life forms, many of which may not look like anything that we have here on Earth. Paul Hertz, who is director of NASA's Astrophysics Division, described the Milky Way galaxy as being a soggy place. He said the following: "We can see water in the interstellar clouds from which planetary systems and stellar systems form. We can see water in the disks of debris that are going to become planetary systems around other stars, and we can even see comets being dissipated in other solar systems as their star evaporates them." Scientists have now said that we should be focusing on exoplanets. Many of these exoplanets that have been detected are planets with thick and heavy atmospheres that are abundant with hydrogen, which allows for oceans to exist and flourish even under immense amounts of heat. This is the name given to the mini-Neptunes that match the description of potential life-having planets. These planets tend to be fully composed of water with no continents, and often have permanent mist rising from the heated waters. Further research into exoplanets may reveal the truth to us within the next handful of years, as we develop and establish what we truly mean by habitable. Another scientist from the University of Montreal claims that we, as a species, have far too high expectations, saying that there may be other ways of finding other life that are not dinosaurs crawling around on the surface. Even though it is not the easiest thing to do, these mini-Neptunes can be tested. There are countless mini-Neptunes in space, and based on their positions and surroundings, we will be able to correctly guess whether they have a chance at being habitable or not. According to scientists, even if only 5% of the mini-Neptune match the requirements, it would still give scientists an incredible number of planets to investigate. Dr. Niku Madasun from Cambridge's Institute of Astronomy said the following: "This result greatly expands our chances of finding life. By using the host star, astronomers are able to estimate the mass of an exoplanet to determine whether it is made of gas or rock, but it is near impossible to determine whether it has a solid or gas core. However, in 2019, thanks to the Hubble Space Telescope, astronomers were able to glimpse into the atmosphere of K2-18b, one of these mini-Neptunes, and discovered evidence of clouds and water vapor. Furthermore, just recently it was announced that there is a possibility that one of these planets could have enough water to sustain earthly life." In Dr. Niku's words, "For the first time, we demonstrated that planets can be significantly larger than Earth and still have livable conditions. The desired outcome for astronomers is to find an Earth-like planet on which we could thrive, to find the ideal Earth twin, which unfortunately is much easier said than done, considering this planet would have to be around the same mass as Earth, the same size, orbit, and neither too far from the host star, as the oceans would freeze, or too close for the oceans would boil. While exoplanets in the cosmos could surely have Earth-like life on them, scientists have stated it is best not to assume that these planets' conditions will be suitable for humans. Currently, the task is to find alien life, not to find another suitable habitat for ourselves. These mini-Neptunes are an in-between being a gas giant and a dwarf, small versions of our huge icy planets. Unfortunately, as mini-Neptunes are far from us, we have not yet developed a way to study them up close, thus shrouding them in mystery. So, what do you make of these mysterious aircrafts? Where do you think they're coming from? And how do you think they're able to achieve the things they do? Be sure to leave your questions and answers in the comment section below and help us to grow this community while working to solve these unexplained mysteries. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more videos.